Greetings from Tokyo. This is Daisuke and my friends, my dear friends. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing wonderfully and that things are going well for you. I was not planning on making any video today. However, earlier this evening, I had the pleasure of meeting one of my dear friends. We go way back, nearly 20 years, I think. And he lives here in Tokyo, and so we get together maybe twice or three times a year, maybe more. And he is my dear friend from Timothy Dwight College. And so he also is such a film. He knows so much about film and literature and music, and he knows about opera, much more than I. But he has so much knowledge in here about film in particular. And he and I were talking over drinks and dinner, and it was a really pleasant time. And one of the things he mentioned was that he asked me a really great question, and I was so inspired by it that I wanted to share it with you today. He asked me this. He first asked me about what are some of the desert island Blu-rays that you have. In other words, what are some of those Blu-rays that you have that you would take to a desert island and watch? And this is a fairly common question, I think. But he then turned it into, I think, a very interesting question, which is this. Instead of the desert island question thing, he then asked, well, what are some of the films that you have seen in your life that you were able to watch all the way through one time, and then as soon as the film was over, you immediately went back and watched it again, maybe one more time or more than one more time. So maybe twice or multiple times. In other words, what are the films that you can watch through completely and then rewatch immediately after, and then perhaps rewatch again after that? So what are the films that you can watch completely through on a loop, so to speak? This is a really interesting question, and I was thinking about it, and he and I were both thinking about it, and he gave me his choices, and I gave my choices on the spot. And then on the train ride home, I was thinking about it some more, and I came up with a number of films. Now, this isn't a list of my favorite films necessarily, but these are films that I have seen, once through, and then was able to watch again, straight through again, and then maybe again after that, because there is something that is so rewatchable and so lovely, and there's something about the film or the work to which I have a connection for some reason. So it could mean that it's a favorite film of mine, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, if you know what I mean. So let me present to you the films that I've thought of that I was able to watch all the way through and then rewatch again immediately. This isn't in any particular order, so this isn't like a top 10, but there are 10 films here. So let me just show you these 10 films that I am able to watch on a loop. And even now, I think I'm able to watch on a loop. So, okay, so this is in no particular order. Some of these films you might have seen already in past videos that I've done, so there might be a little bit of repetition. If that's the case, then I apologize. I should say once again that, this is a very interesting question, because if you have a favorite film that is a very intense film, it probably means so much to you, but maybe by the end of the film you feel so exhausted emotionally, spiritually, that you don't want to watch it again. Or maybe it's so beautiful and so precious to you that you don't want to spoil the experience by watching it again. Perhaps it's more, it retains that aura of specialness or kind of a special quality by not watching it over again. So I really appreciate those points. So these films, however, seem to me anyway, at least from my point of view, to operate in a way such that I am able to watch them over and over again and still get so much from them every time. So, when I say watch them over and over again, I mean watch the films again immediately after I finished the first time. So it's a very interesting phenomenon. I have mentioned this before, and this is Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, directed by Sidney Lumet, starring Albert Finney as Hercule Poirot. This is based on the novel Murder on the Orient Express that was written by Agatha Christie. Now, I am a huge Agatha Christie fan. I have all her books. I have the facsimile hardcover editions that were produced maybe 10 years ago or so, and so I have them on my shelf in another room, and I just love them so much. And Murder on the Orient Express is one of my favorite stories, and I love the novel so much, but this film just takes it to another level, and there's so much quirkiness and so much gaiety and so much liveliness and nostalgia for things in the past, a sort of a hearkening back to the romance of a jazz age type of story, but with a sheen of luxury. And it's so beautiful, and there are so many quirky human moments in the film, and the way it's shot, it gives it that what's the phrase? Je ne sais quoi, I don't know. And it just, it breathes so fully in my eyes. And so I just love to watch this film over and over again. And Albert Finney as Poirot is surprisingly good. But there's so many great actors in this film. Lauren Bacall, Anthony Hopkins, Lauren Bacall, Anthony Perkins, John Gielgud, Wendy Hiller, Michael York, Jacqueline Bisset, Sean Connery, Vanessa Redgrave. The list goes on and on. Ingrid Bergman. The list goes on and on and on. Amazing. So this is a film that I can watch and then go to the end and then just stop and then watch it again. Great film. Murder on the Orient Express, 1974. Here's another one that I have mentioned before, and this is Clue. This is the one of the greatest comedies, in my opinion, and it is one that I can never grow tired of. I can watch this film and then stop it at the end and then go right back to the beginning and watch it all over again. In fact, I did that when I was a kid, growing up with the VHS that I rented from our local video store, and it was a lovely time watching this all the way through on the VHS tape, and then stopping it at the end, waiting for it to rewind to go back to the beginning, and then pushing play and starting it all over again. This is a creme de la creme in terms of sharp, witty comedy. And I've talked about it before, but Clue, this is one, this is, it never grows stale. It is always fresh, and it's always lively. It's like a lovely glass of champagne that's right out of the bottle, if you know what I mean, every single time. Clue, this is another one that I can watch over and over again and never grow tired of. Next, this is Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious. Now, this is the Criterion Collection DVD, and right now it's December 2018. And as some of you may know, January 2019 is the month that the Blu-ray upgrade in the Criterion Collection of this film is scheduled to be released. So it is a very exciting time for me. This film is another one that I watched on a loop. And I think I first watched this when I was a kid living in Guildford, Surrey, in England at the time. So I must have been around 6 or 7, maybe 8. And this was on a VHS, and so I watched it for the first time, and I was enthralled. I didn't know exactly what was going on all the time, but it didn't really matter. And there was this whole scene with the wine and the key and all this intrigue and the lovely Ingrid Bergman and this very mysterious-looking, brooding Cary Grant. Lovely, lovely. And then when the affair was over, boom, I went right back to the beginning. I had to wait until the rewinding was finished and then pushed play and went back again. And then when I got the DVD many years later, I did the same thing. I watched the film all the way through, and I loved it so much that I was able to stop and then press play again, and then it just started again. This time, of course, there was no need to wait for rewinding because this was the DVD. And so Notorious. I could have put another Hitchcock film here as well. I could have talked about Lady Vanishes, which I feel the same. I can watch that on a loop and never grow tired of it. Vertigo, I could mention that film as well on a loop. But there's just something rather... There's something rather menacing on the one hand and also very light and entertaining on the other hand. There's a wonderful balance or mix of those two seemingly different tones in this film. And so that's why I think I've opted for Notorious with respect to this particular video. Next, switching gears a little bit, is this film, which I haven't mentioned before, but this is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Now, this is also from the early 80s, and this is a film that is the second film in the film series of Star Trek with the original crew, and the original crew being led by Captain James T. Kirk. Well, actually, at the start of this film, he's Admiral James T. Kirk, and that's a very important plot point. But this is a film that is so amazing on so many different levels. It is very literary. There are so many through lines and allusions made to literary works, and those allusions are deftly handled, and they are handled with care and with precision. And so it's so amazing just how layered this film is. It is an action adventure par excellence. There is wonderful space battles, and there is a huge human drama element. And it's not just a human drama on an intimate scale. These are titans clashing, Khan and Kirk. And so we have here something that I saw again many times, and it was just so easy to go to the end and then stop it and then go back to the beginning again. It's just so easy to watch this over and over again. And I love this film so much that this is the film that I can watch all the way through and very easily go back to the beginning and do it. I've done that many times, in fact. And I haven't done that with any of the other Star Trek films, actually, although I do like Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6, and I'm starting to warm to Star Trek the motion picture. But this is the one for me, and I think that's true for many Star Trek fans and also science fiction fans out there. But Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, yes, this is one of the films that I can watch over and over and over again and never grow tired of it. Okay, next, this is the Criterion Blu-ray of Picnic at Hanging Rock. Now, Picnic at Hanging Rock is it's like it's so ethereal and so hazy and misty, and it's dreamlike, and the women here are all so mysterious and beautiful, and there is an air of perhaps danger, risk, but there is also a kind of a sprightly sort of playfulness, and it all comes together in this hypnotic way. And again, I can watch this over and over again. In fact, I did that. I remember I watched this particular Blu-ray release from Criterion, and I was mesmerized from beginning to end, and I just was, I think I was numb. My mind became so numb, but I had to know more. It was so compelling to me, and so in order to try to know more, I had to, when it was over, I had to watch it again and start from the very beginning and try to pick up clues or to pick up hints of the story and how it progressed. And I tried again, and I couldn't catch all of the details. So then after the second time, this is true, I went back and watched the third time, and I did it again. And this was over the course of a single evening, and so I didn't get that much sleep that particular evening. And it became one of my favorite films in the Criterion Collection. And it was one of those memorable moments in my recent film watching life. And so I was quite taken by this. This happened to me a few years ago, but yeah, it was amazing, and it still is. And I'm always very cautious, because I know that if I put this in the machine, I will probably want to watch it again and again. So I'm always very careful about this film, because there's something very it draws you in immediately, and there is something here that is it's like, it's almost like it sedates you in a way, and you don't feel like you want to leave the world, and so you just want to keep watching the film again, just to try to absorb all of the atmosphere. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that is why this is the one that I can watch on a loop and just never ever grow tired of. Picnic at Hanging Rock. Next is, let's switch gears again, and let's go with this film. This is the DVD set of the film Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, by the director whose name escapes me at the moment. Oh yes, of course. His name is George Romero. And so George Romero provides us with his masterpiece. And this is the film that is so detailed and goes into the nitty-gritty and the details surrounding the fortification of the mall and all the strategy that's involved in the rooms and what to go for first and how to fortify the core area first and then slowly extend outward. So there's a ton of strategy here, which is fascinating, and therefore it can withstand multiple viewings within a short period of time. And of course, you layer on top of that the great adventure horror story about the zombie apocalypse and the survivors, and also the human element with the survivors and their interactions with each other, and the male-female dynamic that emerges, and also the power struggles that emerge as well, also among the men in particular, but also with Fran. And also you have the outside forces, and not only exemplified by the zombies, but also by other elements that are ominously human. I'll just leave it at that. So this is the entire package, and you are just it's like a beautiful, oh gosh, it's just a treat, a visual treat for the eyes, a horror film that is just second to none, I think, and it makes you think and it makes you laugh, and once you are finished with it, you just want to go right back to the beginning, and that's what I've done here so many times, just gone through this. This has been, this is so beat up because I've just gone through this so many times, and I've watched this over and over and over again, and this is one of the releases that I will never ever get rid of, because it just I can just play it constantly, and so. Incidentally, the one that I've played the most is the extended version Although, and then I've played the original US theatrical version as well many times. The one I haven't played over and over again actually is the European version. And I do like the European version, but I don't connect with it as strongly as I do the extended version and the US theatrical version. So that's a little footnote to this particular discussion of Dawn of the Dead. But still, this is one that I can watch over and over again, and I have done on many occasions. Next one. This is a television film or television production that was made by London Weekend Television in the United Kingdom from 1981. And this is also an Agatha Christie adaptation. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of this. If you have, please let me know. I am, as I say, a huge fan of Agatha Christie novels and short stories. I love her works very much. And as a result of that, I'm also a big fan of Agatha Christie adaptations, that is, film or TV adaptations of her works. This was from 1981, and this stars Cheryl Campbell and James Warwick and John Gielgud. And others, and it is the story, the underlying novel, I would say, is probably average Christie in terms of where it stands in the critical perception of her works. But the adaptation is so charming and witty and filled with verve that I really admire it very much. Harry Andrews also makes a very memorable superintendent battle in this. So this is one that I saw, I think, as a kid growing up in the United Kingdom. We got this videotape from HMV in it was in London. And so I remember watching this as a kid, and I was enthralled, watching it over and over and over again. And so I got this DVD much later in life, and the same thing, watched it over and over and over. In fact, I did that just the other day, and I was just in this room, and the family was asleep, and I couldn't go to sleep because of maybe I was a little bit sick or something. So I wanted to spend some time, and I just watched this, and I just watched it a second time after I finished watching it the first time. So it reminded me so much of my childhood. This is a nice Christie adaptation. Again, I don't know if it's the best Christie adaptation in the world, but it's something that meant so much to me. It's almost like a warm blanket that I would have had as a kid, but I forgot about until I had the warm blanket feeling again. So this is like my warm blanket, and as such, I'm able to watch it over and over and over again. So Seven Dials Mystery, 1981, London Weekend Television. I love to champion this so much. Incidentally, it's one of those productions where some of it's shot on film, that is, location shoots are on film, but interiors, that is, studio interiors, are shot with television cameras. So you've got that odd, you know what I'm talking about, that odd mix of exterior footage shot on film and interior scenes that are shot with TV cameras. So it's a really odd mix. I love that. It has a nice old school charm. So this is Seven Dials Mystery. Next, switching gears again. So this is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or Godzilla Tai Mechagodzilla. So this is the Showa era Godzilla film where we meet Mechagodzilla for the first time. We also see King Caesar. But this is the one for me. Now, I love Godzilla films, as some of you may know already. But this is the one that sealed the deal for me. And this is the one that I revisit the most. And not only do I revisit the most, this is the one that I can watch on a loop. So when I watch it all the way through, and when it reaches the end, boom, I can go back to the beginning and just watch it through again. and it is so entertaining, and it's just filled with inventiveness, and it comes at a point late in the Showa era, so there's a risk of the films already becoming a bit stale by this point, but this injects so much life and energy and vitality into the series that it becomes something beyond what it is, if you know what I mean. So it is a truly outstanding piece of work. So Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or Gojira tai Mechagodzilla. This is one that I cherish so much, and I can watch over and over again, and I have on many occasions. Next, this is the VHS set of the Beatles Anthology. Now, this was that huge documentary that was about the Beatles. This was from the 90s, I think. And this was, this was a real epic documentary on one of my favorite bands. And so it was great, and I loved it so much that I got this, at the time, and I still have it. And I guess I should get the DVD or Blu-ray release, whatever it is now. But I love the old school feeling of this. I'm so used to watching the documentary in this order. There are 8 tapes, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And incidentally, my favorite. I love everything, of course, everything from the beginning to end, but especially around here, that's where it just becomes so awesome. And there are so many great moments here. Ringo talking about the Philippines, or talking about the John and Yoko Naked album cover, and all the little tidbits about Paul, and how he thought that it was he who wanted the group in the early days to get rid of the leather jackets, but it was probably Brian Epstein, but no one was really sure. And Paul talking about how the song Yesterday came to be, and George Martin talking about Sgt. Pepper, and also that great moment with the song A Day in the Life. And you have, of course, Free as a Bird, and George talking about taxes, and of course the great footage of John, and all the archival interviews that have been edited together, so that it's almost as though he's a participant in the making of this documentary. So this is great. This is so great, and I love, and it just builds to this crescendo all the way to the end. And as soon as the last bit of the last tape ends, just go back to the beginning and just watch it over again. I've done that so many times with this, the Beatles Anthology, and this gives me so much joy. So again, I should really get this on DVD or Blu-ray, but for whatever reason, I love this, the VHS set as it is, and it's falling apart already. Look at that, it's already falling apart, but oh well. This is something that means so much to me. So this is the Beatles Anthology, something that I can watch on a loop, and I have done so on many occasions. All right, last one. Okay, last one, and I'm done. So we've gone through 9, and so here's the 10th, and perhaps I've done something, maybe I've saved the best for last, perhaps, but I have spoken about this film before, and it is one that I can watch over and over and over and over again. I will never grow tired of this. It has one of those snappy, just sharp dialogue, just a wonderfully pace, rhythm to it, and it has a vitality and an earnestness, and also an energy and suspense, and mysticism and supernatural elements and horror elements and comedy and everything. And it has one of the great great characters in the history of cinema, in my humble opinion. And that character's name is Jack Burton, and the film is Big Trouble in Little China. I could watch this forever. I could watch this forever. If I, heaven forbid, I lost all of my films in a fire or a flood or something. I hope it never happens, but heaven forbid I lose everything. I think the first thing I would do would be, well, after I try to, regain my composure, and after I calm down, of course, I think the first thing I would do would be go to a store, and the first film I would pick up would be a copy of Big Trouble in Little China. That's how much I really cherish this film, and that is an indication of, from my point of view, its rewatchability. I can watch this over and over and over again, and I never grow tired. And it has that lovely way, it has that lovely arc of a narrative where you go through it and just suddenly explodes in energy, and that it ends with a lovely bit of sort of a somber finality, perhaps, but then you want to go back to the beginning, and the tone is the exact same. It just goes back, and it feels like a lovely loop that you can go on. And particularly now with DVD and Blu-ray, you can just end it and then push a button and then start it over again. So this is, for me, the ultimate in rewatchability. Big Trouble in Little China. This is the film that I think I can watch just so many times immediately and just never ever grow tired of it. Big Trouble in Little China. I love this film so much. Anyway, sorry about that. So sorry about that. I hope that was somewhat interesting to you. If it wasn't, I apologize very much. But as I say, this was just something that I wanted to share with you because I was inspired by my friend. And I guess I could now ask you the same question. What are the films for you that you can watch on a loop? That is, a film that you can watch all the way through once and then immediately start at the beginning and watch it all the way through again. Have you done that before? I'm sure you have. I've heard this from many of you about certain films that have meant so much to you or that had a profound effect on you that you could then go back and watch it again. I would love to hear what those films are for you. So if you have any stories you'd like to share, please feel free to let me know. You can let me know in the comments section below, or you can try to contact me directly, through Facebook or other means. I would love to hear what your films on a loop are, and just hear what your reactions are and how those films affected you personally. This is a really interesting question, and again, it just goes to the power of film, the durability of cinema, and the way cinema affects us all. It's all individual and subjective and very personal, and yet at the same time, it's something that makes us want to share it with others. I love that. Cinema is once so personalized, and at the same time, it is so communal. It's something that we can share and we can bond and talk about and discuss. This is one of the great things about cinema. Okay, anyway, my friends, I don't want to keep you anymore. So I will leave you, and again, please be happy and healthy. And that is the most important thing. Be happy and healthy in your life, and seize the day. Enjoy your life. Please find lots of love, and please find lots of fulfillment. And yes, watch a lot of great movies. Until we meet again, my friends. Cheers. concentration. Are you ready, Jack? I was born ready.